Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namasami. Okay, so it's Saturday night, mid-May. Sitting meditation to the sound of rain. It's wonderful. We haven't been getting much rain this year, so having some rain come in and wetting things down a bit, and soaking the forest a bit. That's a good thing. Something that has stuck in my mind this past week. I listened to a talk of Ajahn Pasanno's, and he was talking in terms of different approaches to practice, different approaches to, of course, to world view or self-view, but particularly in terms of practice, but then in the sense of, and I thought it was really quite interesting and worthy of ongoing reflection, and in particular this is pointing to as like a goal-oriented practice and source-oriented practice, and that we, most of us, coming from our cultural backgrounds, tend to be focused more on goals and so that our, and of course that shapes our worldview or self-view. And so that working towards a goal, having to have a goal, which is then, in order to get to that goal, then we have to get rid of things that are the obstacles to that goal, and but it comes with a package as well, in the sense of there is there's like a goal outside of us that we are trying to work towards, and But also, it also the knock-on effect is that we also feel that somehow we are lacking, we're missing something, we're or even flawed, damaged in some way, and trying to get to some kind of perfection somewhere, sometime, somewhere else. And that, of course, it keeps us busy for our whole life, but it doesn't lead to much contentment or satisfaction or even a whole lot of well-being, in that we tend to be chasing after something, which is then, of course, that's an object of desire, or we are thwarted or hampered in some way, and so then there must be something to blame, somebody to blame, look for something to blame, and so that that externalizing of what are objects of gratification or of aversion and dissatisfaction. So it keeps us off balance. And his emphasis on say a source-oriented practice, in that there is a reality, or is a truth, or that is experienceable here and now, in a even when we chant the qualities of the Dhamma, sandhitiko, so apparent here and now. This is a here and now Dhamma. It's timeless, akaliko. Of course, it's investigating. It's encouraging investigation. But it's also to be experienced for each wise person themselves. So it's a somewhat different approach. I mean, Buddhism is a very different approach. I think it's also something that has puzzled Western minds for a long time. And then even for ourselves, who are inspired by the teachings, inspired by the practice, I think it's important to be reflecting on how our own cultural conditioning can be affecting us and creating obstacles and problems for ourselves, and not maybe not be noticed so clearly, not recognized so clearly. And of course, it's not black and white. It's not hard and fixed. It's but it is I think it's worthy of investigation. and seeing how we can reflect, investigate, reconsider our practice, because of course this practice is for the overcoming of suffering, is for the overcoming of dukkha in all of its kind of shades of this, from stress, minor stress, to major despair, and everything in between. So to recognize how, and it isn't as if there aren't any obstacles to overcome, or that, but it's like the way the Buddha expresses it of the mind radiant bhikkhus is this mind, but it is defiled or corrupted by passing defilements, incoming defilements, akanduka, visitors. Akanduka in Pali is like a visitor. Like we have in the Vinaya, we have duties that we have to perform toward visitors, akanduka, those coming into the monastery. We have to receive people properly. Of course, with our minds, we have to receive the visitors to our mind properly as well, and to be wisdom and discernment and understanding is so essential. But it's also important to say there is this underlying radiance or nature of the mind. Some of the images that, the Buddha himself used the image of water, and of course the great teachers use that as well in terms of it's just water is its basic nature is pure. It's just H2O, but then it can be colored, it can be turbid, it can be mixed with all sorts of things that make it less than pure, and the mind is like that. It is this. So it's like learning how to come back to the source, or to recognize the source. Learning how to appreciate that source of fundamental nature of the mind, and learning how to attend to that, and also just in terms of how we conceive of that. Because it does, we end up conceiving of ourselves and the world around us in certain ways, and there's It's through our cultural, religious, philosophical conditioning. So of course, one of the striking examples, and I've mentioned it many times over the years, of the king of Thailand being interviewed for a BBC documentary. This is a long time ago, late 1970s, and the interviewer is it's been. There was an extensive documentary, a 3-hour documentary or something, and they followed the royal family around, and of course the king is actually, or the former king, was a devout Buddhist, and he is considered the like the patron of the Sangha, patron of the, say, religion. And the interviewer asked, how it was sort of like considering, because he was having trouble with some of the ideas around Buddhism and how do they conceive of like original sin, and the king looked very puzzled, and it was sort of like, oh, so for Buddhists they don't really think in terms of original sin. You think more in terms of original purity. And that's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different worldview. It's a whole different self-view. So that the source is something worth coming back to, rather than conceiving of a goal to get away from something. So it's really how do we conceive of ourselves? I mean, it isn't as if Buddhists and Buddhist practice is completely goalless and has no motivation. But I think you free up a lot of energy and motivation if you're not entangling yourself in a conception of yourself as flawed, damaged, lacking, less than. And of course, these are, all the teachings are for investigation, for contemplation. How do we use them? How do we pick them up? And certainly the way that the Buddha taught and emphasized, it was always in terms of it was always returning to the experience in the experiential realm of dukkha, freedom from dukkha. That's the. It's not a concept. It's not a You don't have to believe in dukkha. You have to pay attention and figure out what's this experience, and how do I free the heart from this discontent and dissatisfaction, this dis-ease, how to approach a sense of settling. And of course, there are also those incoming defilements or incoming corruptions, passing corruptions. They don't just sort of flit in and flit out. They flit in and then they hang around and make a home for themselves, and we tend to entertain them, look after them, cherish them. We get used to them, and there are companions. What would I do without my defilements? It's hard to it's hard to figure it out. I mean, it's one of the things you notice that when you're we start meditating. We want to be peaceful, and you have to work at it, and then the mind settles, and then how long does it settle before the mind looking for something to it's not, it doesn't sort of stay that way. We start looking for something else to do, look for something that we're kind of irritated about, or this is wrong, I have to get has to be dealt with. I got to. This is, So we're those cycles of desire and aversion and confusion just keep cycling through. So that one needs to have that clarity of heart that understands it, sees it clearly, works skillfully with the antidotes, with the wearing them away, with releasing and letting go. But in the end, it's also, say, another image that is used, is like the sun or the moon coming out from behind the clouds, and it's like, the sun, the moon, they were always, bright and radiant, but the clouds obscure. That we can return to that, or we can recognize that. We can, not be disheartened because there are clouds. I mean, it's so that the perspective is so important. And then, again, the how we work with it, that source-oriented practice. One of the kind of mainstays of the forest tradition in Thailand in terms of practice, and particularly Ajahn Mun's teaching and emphasis, and he influenced so many teachers up to the present day, and including Ajahn Chah, and where Ajahn Mun emphasized that one of the really important things to be attending to is to be able to recognize the difference between, say, the mind or the heart, citta, and the conditions of the mind, the objects of the mind, the moods of the mind, and the citta and the akan kong chit, the citta and the moods of the mind, the arom kong chit. So it's something that a perspective that very powerfully influenced the obviously there's an insight of Ajahn Mun's, but that had influenced his students and his heirs to the Dhamma. So to be able to reckon that there is this citta, this heart, this that its nature is to be awake, to be present, to be clear, to be still, to be radiant, and has that capacity, or it has that potential. But it's those conditions of mind, objects of mind, moods of mind that complicate it or obscure it. To turning attention to that, recognize, because we can justify our moods, we can justify our conditions of mind. We can have any number of reasons to be upset at any particular time. We can have all sorts of logic to say why you need this pint of ice cream right now. I mean, any object of desire is we're not that discriminating. We'll take any object really, but this is how that works. And then, of course, the aspects of greed, hatred, delusion. Delusion plays itself out in fear and anxiety and confusion, in views and opinions, and of course we can back it all up with logic, and it can be all it can be either irrational or rational. It doesn't really matter, just so long as the object is there, and we keep propping it up. But that's Ajahn Mun's emphasis. That's as one who is seeking this path, to learn how to see the difference between the citta and the objects of mind, conditions of mind. And because liberation is not in the conditions of mind, it's not in the moods of the mind, we have to return to the citta itself. And of course, that's one of Ajahn Mun's senior disciples. That was, I think, one of his great contributions, is that Lumpur Dun, the reformulating of the Four Noble Truths, the way he kind of reformulated, recasted in his teaching, where the switching the first and second noble truth and third and fourth noble truth, so that it's sort of the origin of suffering, and in suffering, path leading to cessation of suffering, and the cessation of suffering. And where he said that it's like the and it's put quite straight, say the mind going outside is the origin of dukkha. And the result of the mind going outside is dukkha. And the mind, seeing the mind, is the path leading to the cessation of dukkha. The result of the mind, seeing the mind, is the cessation of dukkha, the ending of dukkha. So it's very simple and practical, but something that needs to be reflected on, worked with, understand. So that is like that. And in Thai, it's Jit Song Nok. It's very simple, but it has this, the mind, the jit or the heart, citta, just going out. Of course, it's when it goes out of itself, it's looking for something, or it's looking for something to gratify, or it's looking at something that is objectifying, reifying an object of aversion, an object of fear, an object of doubt. And so that going out, moving out of its source, moving out of its foundation, moving out of its true nature, its intrinsic nature. So, but whenever it does that say the result of the heart going outside, that is dukkha. And it isn't as if, say, practicing with him, it doesn't mean that one doesn't acknowledge or recognize. It's not a negation of the world, because that in itself is going out. But it's just seeing things in their true nature, seeing how things work, but everything is held within this the heart of clarity, the heart of awakening. So that, and it says they say the antidote is not, like say that the cause of suffering is the heart going outside, but it's say jit hen jit, the mind, the heart, seeing the heart is that is the cessation. It's not stopping the mind going outside, forcing the mind to stay, because even that conception of outside inside is already going out, and it's moving towards something that is not there. But it's just the heart seeing itself and seeing that. It's like this citta is radiant. Papasara middang pikaway cittang. So that's the Buddha saying. the mind bhikkhus is radiant. It's such a a simple statement, hardly even a sentence. But then, and the reality is, of course, is that there's how many volumes of the Tripitaka to sort of here's the way. This is the way it works. This is the way to work with things. This is so. It's it's holding it skillfully, but it's so important to have that. That's where sammaditthi, right view, is essential. That's the beginning of the path. Is that right view, and I think also that aspect of faith in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha is such a important resource, important foundation, and particularly, as we conceive of again from our backgrounds, faith is. We don't have faith easily, but I think it's also to be like in the English language and English like faith and belief are synonymous, but say particularly from a Buddhist perspective, belief is you have a conceptualizing something that you prop up, something that you're trying to believe in. Whereas faith is more like trust, Sahgha, it's really trust or confidence, much more of a heart quality. And so that there's that sense of a confidence in that. There's a confidence in. So then the Buddha as an awakened being, somebody who truly understood the nature of this human existence and freed himself. But then, confidence in the Dhamma, trust in that. This teaching is well expounded. It's apparent here and now. This is a here and now Dhamma. It's something that santittika Dhamma. Okay, it's something that can be experienced. It's a timeless teaching. Yeah. Things were impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self in the time of the Buddha, and they're that way now. They'll be that way in another 2,600 years. It'll still be impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. This is a timeless teaching, and the nature of the heart, of its fundamental nature, this is timeless. But it's to be experienced for each wise person themselves. So that sense of confidence, of faith, that's to be inclining to. It isn't something to be believed in and clung to, but it's a strength, like a bala, or a source of strength that is to be turned to, encouraged, opening to. When we try to prop up to a belief, then it's more conceptual, and concepts are. It's easy to shoot holes in concepts, and that's and it's not really helpful. But when you're turning to the things that nurture this quality of trust, of confidence. Because it does take a certain steadiness and stability to really recognize and gain confidence in this awakened possibility of the human heart, the citta. Is to be able to gain confidence in this sense of this citta being radiant. We can find all sorts of evidence for it's the opposite, but what is its radiance? In the same way, you think, well, okay, water is. Nature of water is pure, but you wouldn't go around drinking from the as it's running down the driveway. I mean, it's just it's dirty. It's it's not suitable. Or even our well and our spring are pretty great sources of water, but we still filter it and soften it and shoot it with ozone and makes it really appropriate for drinking. So that you still have to work with it. So that this working with the mind, but paying attention to how we conceive of the mind, conceive of practice, conceive of self, conceive of the world. And I think that aspect of goal-oriented and source-oriented is a helpful tool. Anyway, it got me thinking a lot. I'll offer that for reflection this evening.
So